Well, now, guess what? Today is the day. This is the video that you've been looking forward. And by the way, today I'm going to teach you something that you've been ignoring the longest part of your life. And guess what it is? The power of compounding. And I know you'll be like, what is compounding? By the way, guess what? One of the greatest person who ever lived as a scientist, if you're interested in science, there's somebody called the Albert Einstein. Said what? If you know what's the compounding interest, then you can take up advantage of it. And if you do not, you're going to pay heavily about it. And by the way, for your information, it is regarded as the 8th wonders of the world because of the magic thing that it does happen. Do you usually see these billionaires, those rich people? This is the formula that they apply. And today I'm going to teach you and show you exactly how can you compound 5,000 all the way to 1,000,000, Bob. What exactly does it happen and how exactly do you do it? All right? That is the video. So all what you need to do, guess what? I've compiled all this information, taken me a little bit of time, but the only thing that I want you to do is to just relax and, hit that like button. Does not cost you anything. And then just next to my followers there is something written subscribe. It is in black. Hit that magical button. Yeah, and I know you're asking, what's the importance? What if I just disregard and watch it? You get to be notified whenever I upload a new good video. My name is Joseph, in case you're watching me for the first time. Let's get to the business now. Here we are, okay? Now, what we have right now is actually 5,000. That's what we have. But the question is this. I'm going to ask you this question. Honestly speaking, don't lie to yourself. Honestly speaking, can you manage to get 5,000 at the end of the month? In everything that you do here and there, can you manage to put aside only 5,000? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you be able to put that amount of money each and every month aside? Now, you qualify to actually get into this challenge. Okay, now here is the point. Number one, that you're supposed to understand when it comes to the compounding effect, you must have something called, the patience. You need patience, all right? And you need the other thing called consistency, because those are the things that you really need, not only in the savings, not only in the compounding, but in anything that you do in this life. So you need the patience and you need the consistency. Now, here we are. So when it comes to you compounding this amount of money, we cannot achieve it by virtue of us doing it in a fixed deposit in a bank. So fixed deposit in a bank, forget about it. That is not our option. If you have some money there, you should just go get it, because you're not getting the best deal. You know why? Because whenever it comes to the being paid in terms of interest rates, there are two things, or there are two ways. A, we usually have what we call the flat rate. Just a flat rate. Whenever a bank tells you fix your money, and then we give you a flat rate of say 7%. So it means that if you put your 100K into that investment, or into that kind of a savings, quote unquote, then you get the 7%. That is pre-tax. So once it's exposed to tax, maybe it goes back all the way to 5%. So you get that 5%. So 5% of 100,000, it becomes what? 5% of 100,000 becomes like 5,000. Therefore, what you'll get at the end of the year, it is 105,000. So if you were to plow back the entire amount of money, it will be 7% of the 100,000. The 5,000 that has grown, it is not subjected to the compound interest. That's the difference. So the compound interest is like giving birth to kids that are giving births. You get what I'm saying? But the flat rate interest that the banks give you is like giving birth to babies, but it's only you who will keep on giving birth. But the one that you're giving birth do not give birth. Hope I'm making sense on that, okay? Now, so for us to actually expose ourselves to the compound interest, first of all, bills and bonds won't give you the compound interest. That's for sure. The only thing advantage with that is actually going to give you a little bit of higher interest. Obviously, that's true. I think in all the areas of investment right now in Kenya, I think bills and bonds are the one that has the highest in terms of the returns as we speak. Then the good thing, as much as they have good returns, they do not have the compound interest, okay? Because you cannot plow back that money, in the sense that you cannot add something on top of what you have in existence there, unless you bid for a different bond. So the only thing that we can pick, or one of the only things that we can pick here, we can either get into a SACCO or we can get into a money market fund. Personally, I'm a fan of a money market fund. So let's go ahead and use the money market fund as our route to actually achieve that thing. And that bank that usually have there, they usually have this money market fund. So you can even use that money market fund from a bank, or you can use a money market fund from insurance companies. Most of them, they do offer this money market fund. So let's get into the business now. 5,000 is the initial capital. Now, say you do not have like a set amount somewhere. You just have the 5,000. Show up to that specific institution, you open a money market fund account, and then you deposit the first 5,000. So once you deposit the first 5,000, guess what you'll be doing? Each and every month, you'll be contributing that 5,000. That's option A. Option 2, if you do not have a way of accumulating that amount of money and get it at the end of the month in a surety way, money market fund, actually, it is open for you to actually deposit money at any time you want. Like, for example, say each and every month you need to raise 5,000. You can say anytime you get 200, you throw it there, you record somewhere. You get 300, you get 1,000, you get 2,000, you get whatever, but the target is what? Is 5,000. So you make sure that you have somewhere where you're ticking, whereby as you deposit that 5,000 continuously, you can, that, randomly, like 2, 100, 300, 5 or 7, whatever, until you hit the 5,000. You might be shocked realizing that you can actually raise more than 5,000. Maybe I'm sharing this information for the cases of people who do the normal, in Kenya we call them vibarua. These are things that you do daily for you to actually get the daily bread. You get what I'm saying? You're not like entitled to a monthly or weekly salary or paycheck or something, okay? So you do that contribution each and every time. You obviously pick a money market fund that has low in terms of the minimum amount of money that you need to do, you can deposit, you pick that minimum. If you get a minimum money market fund that gives you 1,000 bob, so you can actually divide each and every week, you deposit you at least 1,000 bob, you're gonna get yourself 5,000. Maybe say if you can add like 100 or 200 on top of that, then you can be able to get the 5,000 at the end of the month. So this is a trick now. So monthly contribution is 5,000, okay? Obviously, in this money market fund, we ought to earn an interest, and I'm taking an interest rate of an average of 14% or sometimes 15%, but I'm actually indicating a post-tax interest rate. This is a post-tax interest rate. Most of the money market fund as we speak right now, they are around 14 to 15%, around there. So we take an average of 12.5, that is post tax, meaning after tax, because I know there's somebody in the comment section be like, hey, Joseph, how about the tax? This is an average interest rate after you deduct the interest, after you deduct what we call the taxes. Now, monthly contribution, 5,000. Post-tax interest rate is 12,000. Here we are. Now, we go to the first year. The first year, what you're gonna get as your total interest or the total amount of money that you'd be having will be 66,250. Why? The 5,000 you contribute per year, assuming that you do not earn any interest. At the end of the year, guess how much you'll get? You'll be able to get 60,000. Okay? So you're getting 60,000 at the end of the year. That is normal contribution without anything. If you contribute 5,000 per year times 12, it is 60,000. So the 6,000 that is being added here, this is what we call the what? The interest rate of 12.5%. You get what I'm saying? Now you get 66,250. Why? Because the 66,000 is the one that has been subjected to 12.5%. So 60,000, 12.5% of 60,000 is 6,250. All right. Now, guess what happens? This is now where the magic starts to happen. You go to the year number 2. You do not even bother about the money. So what happens? Guess what happens now? The year number 2, you're going to get 133,828. How exactly has that happened? Now, remember, there is now, see, as you close, for example, say you started at 1st of 2024. So at the 1st of 2025, January, you have 66,250. Now, that is the money that is already in the account. So remember one thing, that money will be subjected to 12.5%. Are we together? And remember again, you are not ceasing contributing. So you are still contributing another 60,000 in that particular year. So it will be 66,000 plus 60,000. Total of that subjected to 12.5%, which is giving you to 133,000 or something or sort. Assuming again there was no interest rate, because I wanted to see you what you're getting in terms of the interest. Assuming that there were no interest rate, okay? So you first year you get the 60,000. Second year you get the 60,000. So assuming that there were no this interest rate, you'll be having 60 plus 60, 120,000. But now you have 133,000, meaning there is an addition of 13,000. That's what you've accumulated in those 2 years. For example, here now we can say what you have actually gained here is 13,828. Are we together? Now we go to the year number 3. The year number 3 now, what happens? It is the total of this. And this is where the people don't get it right. It's the total of this. Which one? This 133 plus 66 to 50. A total of all of these now is subjected to 12.5%. Now, that amount of money adds up to 210,550. You get what I'm saying? So it adds up to 210. So the third year, The third year, assuming that you are contributing the 60,000 continuously without you getting the interest rate, it will be 60, 60, 60. You'll be having 180,000. But now you are having 210. So there is an addition of around 30,000. Remember one thing, it is actually growing bigger and bigger and bigger. So if you were to draw something big all the way from here, from the first year all the way to the third year, you're having a total of over 30,000. Over 30,000. That's what you've been having. All right. Now, guess what happens? This is where now the magic starts to happen. As the number becomes bigger, the interest rate actually becomes bigger. Let's take on what happens on the fourth year. The fourth year now, it is the total of fees subjected to an interest rate of 12%, 12.5%. And remember one thing, I'm assuming that this 12.5% remains constant. At times it can grow or otherwise, okay? But chances of it growing otherwise right now is a little bit harder based on what we are seeing in what the economies are doing. For example, by the way, last year, the money market fund was around even 8%. Right now, we are talking about 14, 15, 16. Others are even giving a crazy of 17% in terms of the returns. So you can just tell where we are going. And again, I can see the dollar is sort of destabilizing in Kenya or something also. It's like we have like a green, indication moving forward. Well, again, depends on who you ask, okay? Now, here we are. Now, all this amount of money is now subjected to this percentage here, all right? Now, this amount of money subjected to 12.5% now, it means by the fourth year, you have 296,876 as your interest rate, okay? Now, this means that now you've grown all the way from the 210 to 296. So if you add the 60,000 here, gives you 270. But now there is an addition of 20,000 there. Again, because of the interest rate and the interest of what you had in your account plus what you have been contributing all that particular time. I hope I'm making sense on this. Now, guess what? I've actually decided to use a different color because now this is where the crazy thing happens. Remember one thing, our target is 1 million bob. Then when are we going to achieve that specific thing? Now, remember one thing. Remember the time you were having 60,000 subjected to 12%, obviously you earned yourself 6,000. That figure has actually been growing bigger. Why? Because the amount of money that is being subjected to that percentage is also growing. Okay? Now, this is where I always tell people you're supposed to know the magic of the interest rate. Now, if you go to the fifth year now, is the total of this amount of money subjected to this gives you 393,000. Now, after the 5 year, if you have the patience after the 5 year or the fifth year, this is where now you start seeing crazy money. And I always tell people, instead of you going picking those insurance policies, I don't know, education policies and whatever, why don't you pick something like this? There's some people who are committed themselves into insurance. And again, this is a money that you can withdraw anytime you want. It's not like it is fixed. It's not like there are no conditions like, hey, you can't withdraw it, you can't cease contribution and all. There is nothing. You see, this is where we say you put your mouth where your money is. There is nothing like restrictions. There is nothing like that. You're just there with your money. You can withdraw it anytime you want and such kind of a thing. All right. Now, at the fifth year now, everything subjected to this percentage you get now, you are at 500,000. You are at a what? You are at 500,000. And by the way, at 500,000, that's the fifth year, or the sixth year rather, you are at 5,233,000 Kenyan shillings. Now, that is the sixth year. So the seventh year, I obviously skipped it, the eighth year and the ninth year. But now the time you clock the 10th year, because the 10th year now, that is the eye on the bull. That we call it the bull's eye. That is the ultimate target that you're having. But the time you're clocking the 10th year, guess how much you'll be having? 1,094,950.70 Kenyan shillings. So if perhaps maybe you say like, I can only afford to set aside like 5,000 at the end of the month. I don't even know when I'm going to get there 5,000. And guess what? All that you're doing, guess why I'm saying it is stress-free? It is stress-free because you never made any call. You never did any follow-up. You never bothered anybody. There is nothing like, oh, I'm so worried about the risks and all those kind of things, because this kind of investments, we say it's one of the safest areas of investment. The risk is always almost to nothing or non-existent, because the strategies has been laid such that people cannot be able to lose their money. And if that happens, it's so much minimum. We've never heard of such kind of a thing, because the strategies, the company must be regulated. They are the procedure that they must follow, where they invest the money, so they make sure that the risk is almost like negligible, like you cannot even actually identify it. Now, by the time now you clock your 10th year, you have your million bob. That's very true. And again, depends. If you don't wanna get any stresses along the way as you wanna reach this amount of money, well and good, you can actually. And by the way, let me just break this into perspective so that you see it's not what you think. Because I know the moment I say the 10th year, you're like, what, 10 years? That sounds like a long time. For example, say you get married today. In the 10th year, how old will be your kid? Seriously. Let's do simple mathematics. Let's say you get married, you take like 2 years before you get kids, or maybe say an year, an average, or 1 year and a half. So the kid will be at least 9 years. 9 years in Kenya, the kid is around at grade 2 or grade something. You're a millionaire. You have a million bob, stress-free. You have your million bob without any debt and something of sort. Then you can go ahead and invest that amount of money. Or then if you are targeting to actually educate your kid with a million bob, seriously, you can go ahead and even pay the school fees the rest of the life of that specific kid, and everything is good. I mean, those are the things that you actually calculate. For example, say, okay, fine. I know you'd be like, okay, fine, it's a long time. Hey, you know what, Joseph, fine. How about you don't invest and you just let that money lie idle in a bank somewhere? You ain't gonna earn you even a single dime. That's a reality. That's a fact. So whether you invest or you don't, 10 years will still pass. That's a reality. That's a fact. And these are the things that actually makes me have that morale and the urge of investing. So even if you invest or you don't invest, at the end of the day, the 10th year will lapse and you'll have actually gained nothing. So it is good to make sure that you make that decision so that at least you can grow and expand yourself as you move to the next level. And by the way, say maybe you even have a capacity to raise more than 5,000. How about you take this 5,000, like, this is that money that quote unquote, I just put it somewhere and quote unquote, like, forget it. In a period of 10 years, you can just, and obviously, by the way, I know you'll be like, okay, so it means in 10 years, in 20 years, I'll be having a million, but no. Dare go use this formula of compounding. The next 20 years at this particular rate, you'll be having yourself like having like 3 or 4 or 5 million at this particular rate. That's what happens. So the more money becomes, for example, calculate now the interest rate of, we are on the 10th year. I want to show you the crazy thing about the compounding interest. Now, calculate the 12% of 1,004,000. 12.5% of this amount of money. This gives you close to 13,000. That 130,000 a year, 130,000. So it means at the 11th year, you're going to have yourself 1,100,000 and not even 100, 200 or 300 something. Yo, I'm telling you, that's a crazy amount of money. You get what I'm saying? So the compound interest is one of the craziest areas of investment. By the time you go to the second year, the third year, you're clocking the second million. By the time you clock the fifth, third million, whatever. By the time now you go the 20 years, you'll be shocked the amount of money that you'll be having out there. So anyway, the point is this: you do not have to wait all this procedure until it reaches there. Let's say maybe you save until the third year, you reach like your 200,000. You can go to the bills and bonds, or maybe you can take this amount of money and you put it in a business, or maybe say you click, or maybe let's say 300 or something up. So you can get into farming. You can get depends with you who you are and what you are targeting here. But this is a formula that can help you not only invest, but at the same time be able to save and grow yourself. By the way, that marks the end of my video, but don't forget my number, because there are a lot of you asking me, hey Joseph, where can I get your number? I want to call you. I want you to explain to me how I can save on bills, on bond, on money market fund, and all those kind of things, or no more businesses. How can I actually do financial literacy? My number is always on the description of this specific video. You see where we have the number of views? Just below the number of views, there is a small wording there. If you just click that in more, you'll be able to see there is a number there, there is an email. You can give me a call and let's have a conversation. For now, it's a goodbye and see you in the next one.